Feeling overwhelmed means you have no structure. Feeling confused means you have no prioritization. Feeling frozen means that you have no system to follow. Having this kind of sense of inconsistency in your business, the highs, the lows, the income, the no income, simply means you have no SOPs, no standard operating procedures that keep things consistently running and operating like a machine. If you've got slow growth, it means that you're doing the wrong things. If you're slow growth but you're busy, you are doing the wrong things. If you're feeling stressed, it simply means that you haven't got organized operations. Stress is purely a symptom of poor systems, and the good thing about this is we can fix it. You can implement systems to remove the stress, to release the overwhelm, to clear the confusion, to unfreeze the frozen, to make consistent the inconsistent, and to speed up your growth. And to do all of those things whilst actually ending up doing less and bringing in ease and joy and flow into your business too. Who wants some of that? Yes, please. Now, before we jump into some of the how-tos, I want to actually talk about a little bit of human psychology, a little bit of human behavior. Now, this is a very big module that I studied in my university degree when it came to human motivation and teaching and what it is that creates success in people's lives. And there is a theory called the locus of control. This theory implies that the degree to which we believe that we have any control over the outcomes in our lives will actually determine the outcomes in our lives. i.e., if we believe that we can control the outcomes that we have, if we think we can, this is called self-efficacy or self-belief, then we actually do create better results in our life. It's a matter of perception, of belief, of inner knowing that is the difference between having a fixed reality and things never changing and thinking it's all about luck versus us being able to activate change and agency in our lives to consistently achieve and overachieve those goals over and over again to create results in our life. So stress, therefore, is purely a lack of perceived control. Stress isn't a lack of control, it's a lack of perceived control. And our perception of our control impacts our psychological well-being more than whether we do have control or we don't. Does that make sense? Perception of how much control we have in our life, our perception of whether or not we can make change, impacts our psychological well-being, whether we do or don't actually have control. It's really powerful. Now, if any of you have or haven't read a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, this is gone into in a lot more depth. This is a book about a man who was taken prisoner in the Nazi death camps, and he was later become a grandfather in human psychology. And he very much wrote about and taught about this idea of control, of perceived control in our lives. He talks about what is it that makes some people survive through some of life's greatest challenges, and what is it that makes some people just curl up in a ball and die. And it all comes back to this perceived control in our lives. When people believe they've got no power for change, they've got no power or self-agency to create change, they give up, they curl up, and they die. Mentally, physically, spiritually, in every way imaginable. Those people that do believe that they have a perceived control succeed and grow and create change. So there is actually a few studies that have been done on this, far beyond just Viktor Frankl's, what he saw and witnessed in the death camps, those that did feel like they could make change, even in the tiniest ways as prisoners, showed to survive. There are other studies, such as Seligman. He did studies on something called learned helplessness. And I don't know if you've heard of like Pavlov's dogs and things like that. This is basically where they've done a number of tests on humans and animals. Not very nice. However, what these tests showed is that where people and animals believed they had no control over their environment, over what they were experiencing, they became passive, despondent, and depressed. Even when they actually did have full control over what was happening to them. Even when they did have full control. So to give you some idea of what this means, one of these assessments was that they put a dog on an electric floor and they would electrocute the dog continuously. I know this is absolutely horrible, but what they did is they left the door wide open And they continued electrocuting the dog, and the dog didn't even leave when the door was wide open because it believed it couldn't get out. And us as human beings can do this learned helplessness. If consistently over a period of time, we think we're not winning, we think we're not achieving anything,